Welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast, proud to be the world's #1 community for brilliant childcare leaders. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches and are the top-selling childcare business book authors of all time. This episode is sponsored by Elif Childcare Insurance. Give Blake a call at 972-232-2258 to get a free quote on childcare business insurance today. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast our hosts, Brian and Carol Duprey.
Welcome to episode 62 of the Childcare Genius podcast. I am your host, Brian Duprey. And I am doing a solo episode today. Carol's out of town this week with our daughter, so I figured I'd do a solo episode. She surprised me and did a solo episode on her own last week. So I thought I'd return the favor this week and do a solo episode as well. So this episode, I'm going to do some 2024 predictions of what I see as possible happening economically, with childcares, with business, with real estate, and maybe help you make better predictions for your business going forward. So sit back, relax while I pull out my crystal ball and predict a little bit of the future. I like to do this every year into the end of the year, which helps me with planning my business, trying to see where things are. And there's a lot of tea leaves out there right now, which help you figure out what's going to go on. So first of all, I'm going to tackle grant money. Most centers have been relying on some form of grant money since COVID started. When COVID first happened, we were all scared. People were pulling their children. We didn't know what would happen financially. Government came in, rescued us, PPP loans, EIDL loans. So there was a lot of money floating around. The government started printing money, trillions and trillions of dollars left and right, trying to keep the economy afloat. And childcare centers, even in some states, did well early on. There was a lot of grant money coming in. Some states were punishing to childcare owners in the early days. They kind of made up for it in the later days with grant money. It doesn't seem like it was equitable. Some states seemed like it gave more money out than others. It really was different across the United States. There wasn't like one fast approach. Some states seems like they hoarded their money and they didn't get it down to childcare centers and put it into their state budgets, whereas other states did very well as far as passing that money down to the childcare level. What's happened since COVID ended a year ago is some of those states that grant money is still coming out, and it's actually hurting the marketplace. So I'm going to surprise some of you right now and tell you that this grant money is not a positive thing when it comes to the free market. Some grant money is helpful, and I know it's helped some parents out there, but what it's done is it's artificially kept childcare centers open that probably should have closed. Some of your competitors might not be as good as you and may not be deserving to be in business at all. There might be just horrible programs, but because of grant money, they're being artificially propped open and kept open. And what I'm finding out is there are centers right now that have preschool opening spots that they've never had before. Why are they having all these openings? And some people think, is it due to public pre-K? No, the biggest thing it's opening due to the free market has not allowed childcare centers to close because nobody wants to close a center when all this free money is pouring in. So centers where the free market would have normally closed a center are being artificially propped open, which means there's a lot more childcare spots than there would normally be, meaning that there's going to be less. What am I looking for? There's going to be more openings because there's too many spots open for the children that are available. So the free market hasn't worked with regards to that. Another thing with grant money is why it's winding down is state budgets are kind of running out of money. The migrant crisis at the southern border has strained a lot of state budgets. So as we have to educate these children that have come across the border, and I'm not trying to get into a political discussion, I'm just stating facts here. Healthcare for these millions and millions of people, and housing for these millions and billions of people, and food, and it's expensive, and state budgets are strained right now, and they're not going to have the money to dump into childcare because they're going to have to pay for these people that have come here. And so with the state budget strained, a couple things I don't see. I don't see a lot of public pre-K expansion in some states because they're just not going to have the money to do that. So some of you might think that's good news. So I don't see expansion in that realm. But I also see a lot of grant money and actually going after some of the subsidized money because they're not going to be able to afford to give out some of that. So there's some red flags when it comes to that. So be on the lookout. So it's simple economics that when you tinker with the free market system, it's going to put something out of balance. And right now, I think the market is probably going to correct itself in 2024. You're probably going to see childcare closures, tens of thousands of them across the country, which I know you would think is a bad thing. From an economic perspective, it is not really a bad thing. I hate to see that. Some of these people will actually sell their centers, so that it's not like they're going to lose everything. So these centers will be sold, and some of these people have no business being in childcare to begin with. They're horrible programs that deserve to close, that are just artificially being propped open. Not everybody deserves to be in childcare, and the poor centers should not be open. They should be closed. All right. The second, when it comes to jobs, what is it going to look like economically? We've been in a recession for the last 3 quarters. The recession is an area of negative growth, and our government's been in that for quite a while. They don't report it that much. The media kind of ignores it because it is still a pretty strong job market. The problem is, we think, at least I'm predicting, in 24, you're going to maybe even see a deeper recession where job losses start happening. And when that happens, obviously your parents could be affected, especially if you live in an area where there's a lot of government jobs. The government could shed some jobs. Mostly it's kind of going to be in the private sector, the Amazon types, the Walmart types, the big corporate retailers. When people stop spending money, that's when the job happens. I was just reading an article before I come on right now that there had never been a time in America as bad as right now, where Americans' savings are at the lowest percentage since the Great Depression. What that means is we're at the lowest point of available money in consumers' bank accounts than at any time percentage wise since the Great Depression. How is that possible with all that COVID money and all that free money, and everybody's making, twice what they were making, before COVID, because everything has increased? What's happened is, because of inflation, and you're like, okay, what is causing inflation? When the government prints money without anything backing that money, it creates inflation because your dollar is worth less. Well, since COVID, both parties, I'm not blaming anybody for this other than Congress, both parties have passed trillions of dollars of spending, but there's not any money coming in to cover it. So the government prints money, which devalues the value of all of our money, which makes things cost more money because the money has less value to it. That's why gas prices have gone up, oil prices have gone up. It's partly due to the war in Ukraine, mostly due to government printing money. So you think all that free money I got during COVID? Well, now guess what? You paid for it many times over. That free money that you got is costing you, with your egg prices going up double, your energy prices going up double, your rent going up, food going up. And at the end of the day, you're probably worse off than you got before you got any of that free money. Because again, government printing money has caused a lot of these problems. So with this inflation, it's devaluing that cost of the money. So Americans are having to dip into savings to pay common expenses for the first time, again, since the Great Depression. We're going backwards as a society, and there are red flags to that. which means the eventually going to stop spending the money at Walmart, stop spending the money Amazon that they've been spending because they're just not going to have it. And that's when job losses are going to happen. So I predict that in 24 and 25. So keep that in mind. Make sure you're running your center in a very good financial position. If you got grant money, I'm hoping you saved a lot of that money and did not throw that into your lifestyle. You did not go out and buy a brand new car. You did not go out and crazily spend that money. I hope you have hundreds of thousands of dollars on the sideline because you're going to need to go into that safety net when you lose 20% of your families in a recession. And you're going to lose probably 30% of your profits as you start losing children, which could happen during a recession. So I'm just kind of warning people that I kind of see this happening. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it happened in 07, 08, predicted that nice and easy. I saw that writing on the wall, and I did very well during that time. I bought 3 schools. I had money on the sidelines ready to go, and I'm ready for this one. I've been teaching about this for years, and all of my teaching, my coaching students, I've been working with them for years, preparing for the next recession so you can have great, amazing buying opportunities. So if you have money on the sidelines, you're going to do quite well in the next recession. All you have to do is outlast your competitor. It's like when you're being chased by a bear. You just got to run faster than the guy next to you and you'll be just fine. And you're like, oh my God, Brian, you're so horrible. Business is business and business is survival. And you have to survive longer than the guy next to you. Because when your competitor goes out of business, you get their kids and you get their stuff and you get their stuff. So as hard as that is to say, it's called survival of the fittest. And that is how we teach at Child Care Genius, that we want you to be the survivor. You want you to be the driver and not the roadkill. All right. Boy, you guys are going to hate me after this one because I'm really telling it. So, expansion. If a recession does hit, it's a great time to expand. I'm opportunistic. I am going to look for the best possible deal at the best possible price. And during recessionary times, people are going to try to get out of the childcare business. And you could buy a center for 10 cents, 20 cents on the dollar. You could buy equipment very inexpensively. The cost of labor actually goes down. So you can get your employees come to work for you for less than they're making now in other jobs. So the price of labor goes down. Unfortunately, sometimes the price of tuition drives down with it as well. So there are some positives and there are some negatives in recessionary times. You will not survive it if you don't have money on the sidelines. So the time is now to start tightening your belt. If you don't have at least 6 months worth of expenses saved in a bank account somewhere, a money market, something liquid you can get at, start saving your belt now. Start tightening your belt. Trade down lower on the cars. Look for a way to save money. Put it away. Get ready. Pay down debt. Debts, get rid of that high interest debt. Start paying that down. Get yourself in a good financial position to survive the next economic downturn. We are very close to that happening. I could see the stock market dropping 20% or 30% in the next year or two very easily. There's going to be a point in the next couple of years where the government's going to have so much debt that it will never be able to pay it, meaning that there's not enough money coming in to just even pay the interest payments, which means the government could actually go bankrupt, which is going to make our money a lot less value. Again, not trying to alarm anybody. What happens there is we could be going into a very steep recessionary times. The government will always find a way to survive out of it, but our economy might end up looking more like Venezuela than the United States, which could be bad for business owners. So again, sometimes the person who has the gold rules, and the better financial position you get in now, the better chance you all will survive into the future going forward. So I hope I'm not scaring too many people. But all you got to do is read Simple Economics or any kind of economic journal and watch what's going on with government printing of money. Right now, the interest on the federal debt takes up a lot of the spending in Washington. And like I said, within 5 to 10 years, it's going to take every dime collected in taxes just to pay the interest on the debt, never alone. And at that point, we're in serious financial trouble. So if you hear politicians right now talking about wanting to shut down the government to try to tackle the overspending problem in Washington, kind of take notice. Some people are trying to stop it. Again, try not to be political here, but But I think both sides of the aisle need to come together and fix this problem before we lose what we have built for a long time. So, but there might be opportunities to make financials during that, providing the government can survive through it. So, again, I hope I'm not trying to scare too many people, but I just want to tell you the writing is on the wall. Hopefully, the government makes good choices the next couple of years and we avoid some serious problems down the line. Um, so right now, it's not a good time to build a ground up center school. If you're thinking about building, probably not the best time because again, if I see a recession coming the next couple of years, that's where time where daycare spots tend to contract. And by adding excess inventory to the market and diluting the market with inventory, you're actually going to drive prices down, and make more people go out of business, and then you all tend to be fighting over the same amount of few kids, and then everybody's in trouble. So now is a good time to just save money, pay down debt, and be prepared for expansion should you want to during a recession. Let's talk about real estate. Carol and I are strong real estate investors. So we have a huge portfolio of multifamily and commercial. We do it all ourselves. We manage our own properties. And I see prices probably stabilizing a little bit on the real estate front. If we do enter that recessionary times, real estate prices will probably start falling at that point. Rents will probably come down a little bit. It's going to be a great opportunity to buy investment properties. So always be looking for that if that's something on your market you're in a market for. Interest rates right now are starting to slowly stabilize. The reason they've been climbing is they had to get a control on the inflation. And one thing that's happened is inflation has come down, but prices have not come down with it. And that's the problem right now. Normally, when inflation comes down, prices come down with it. The prices are just not coming down. We're in a bad spot right now. And that's why people are tapping into their savings. And that's why Americans are record spending into the savings level, which is hurting their pocketbooks long term, which eventually, like I said, will result in job losses as those Americans start contracting and not going on those vacations and not spending. It's going to be trouble. So I think interest rates will stabilize and come down in 24 and 25. So if you're going to buy investment property, you should be able to get fairly decent rates. Right now, they're in the 7.5 to 8 range. The most I want to pay on a property 6.5. So I'm kind of waiting on the sidelines. I'm paying cash for properties now, and I won't be borrowing probably until it gets down in below 7 again, which could happen hopefully in 24 sometime. All right. A government shutdown. This is being recorded in October of 2023. This episode, if you're watching, a government shutdown is a very real possibility sometime before Thanksgiving 2023. Since I know politics, I know both sides of the aisle. And again, both sides of the aisle are the problem here. It's not a Republican issue or a Democrat issue. So I'm not pointing fingers at either side. I'm actually an independent. So what I'm saying is there is a distinct possibility in divided government that there is a shutdown. So if that happens, people that are heavy in subsidy, and if you got over 50% of your kids in subsidy, your payments could be delayed. And they could be delayed significant amount of time because there'll be no money coming in to state budgets because the government is actually shut down. So if you're heavy subsidized, I hope you have a good savings account and be prepared for that. Keep in mind that USDA food payments would stop. Any kind of subsidized parents wouldn't be getting any kind of subsidy, and everything will be delayed. And it could be a while before it restarts. So you're talking, it could be 3 months without federal payments. Can you survive that? So now is the time to be prepared. You make sure that everything's paid up. You have that money in savings account. You can make payroll without any issue. Keep in mind that in a shutdown, all your government worker parents are not getting paid either. So you may have cash parents that if you live in DC and most of your parents work for the government, well, they're not getting paid. So guess what? You're probably not getting paid for that during that time either. So keep that in mind. If you have a lot of military people won't be getting paid during a shutdown as well. So just again, always be prepared for contingencies. Gas and oil prices, again, driven mostly by inflation. I see that going up. It looks like the price of oil on the stock market is going to be rising, maybe up to $150 a barrel. What does that mean? $5 gas again is a distinct possibility in 2024. Heating oil, which a lot of my daycares are heating oil and natural gas, those prices are going to continue to rise. It's costing you more to heat your homes. Again, this economic problem when we're in it is pretty deep, and it's going to be a while for us to climb out of this. And I'm hoping that the recession, there's ways to avoid it, and I hope the government acts, and we can make some changes. If they do, we could avoid all the dangers that I'm talking about right now if they just act. So hopefully they will. But I never put too much faith in government, and I've been disappointed before. But hopefully, sometimes they do things right. I mean, they do transportation right. We haven't had a plane crash in this country in many years, so they do some things right, and even the weather's right most of the time. So even though the government doesn't do that, but anyway, so continue to follow Childcare Genius, because I'm going to tell you the truth. No matter unpleasant it is, no matter how unpopular it is, my job is to protect you, the listener, and you, the childcare owner that loves what you do and you make a difference in the life of a child. If you're listening to this and you're a horrible owner that runs a one-star program, that you just don't care, that you break the rules, you're the one that deserves to close. So I'm hoping that the recession takes you out, because you don't deserve to be in childcare. But if you're the owner that's doing it for the right reason, you have great employees, great program, you are the epitome of childcare. You know what? I'm there for helping you. And I'm going to help you take over those schools that don't deserve to be in business, because we all know who they are. We all have that one competitor that should not be in business. That grant money has been keeping them in business. It's time for us to be able to get those kids in a worthwhile program. And that is it for today's predictions. I'm going to visit this next year and see how good I actually did. I'm hoping, praying I'm wrong on some of them. And as far as my long-term predictions, I'm hoping the government gets their act together and start balancing the budgets and get some problems, start paying their bills. You and I, as consumers, we have to pay our bills. We have to pay our debts. We took out a loan. We have to pay our bills. Why should the government be any different? So if you need help in your childcare business, you would like a free coaching call with me. If you're a center owner, you have to be a center owner. I will give you a free coaching call. And if you're struggling, I'll help you with whatever area you're struggling in. And just visit my website at childcaregenius.com. Go to the coaching tab and select I'd like a free coaching call. And you're guaranteed to come away with 2 or 3 action items that you could take advantage of in any area you're struggling with right away. And there's no cost or obligation to that call. So this concludes episode 62 of the Childcare Genius podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your busy life to spend a little bit of time with me today. And I hope I did not offend anybody. That was not my intention. Or I hope I didn't scare anybody. Or if I did scare you, I hope you scared enough a little bit to take a little bit of action. And just a reminder, hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a future episode. And Carol and I will be back next week with an amazing episode. And we will see you real soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Childcare Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your childcare business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.